Ever tossed out an old appliance, like maybe a clunky washing machine, and kind of cringed thinking about where it ends up?
Yeah, it's hard not to think about. Especially with all the news about e-waste, it feels like every gadget eventually becomes, part of the problem.
It's a global problem for sure.
Yeah.
We're talking like 50 million tons of electronic waste every year. That's like if we took 1,000 Eiffel Towers and just dumped them in a landfill, just electronics, every single year.
Wow, 1,000 Eiffel Towers. Yeah, that really puts it in perspective. And a big part of that is our obsession with always needing the newest thing, right?
Absolutely. The way we manufacture stuff,
Yeah.
especially appliances like washing machines, it's like they're designed to be replaced every few years, not repaired.
You hit a certain point with a repair and they're like, well, might as well just buy a new one?
Exactly. But what if there was another way? That's what this whole deep dive is about, this idea of a circular economy and how it's changing how we think about everyday things, starting with how we do laundry.
Circular economy. So instead of that whole take, make, dispose cycle, we're talking about making things that last, can be repaired, maybe even repurposed.
Right, exactly. Imagine, instead of buying a washing machine, you subscribe to a laundry service. You pay a monthly fee, and you get access to a high-quality, durable machine that's designed to be repaired and upgraded over time.
Interesting. So kind of like how software is moving to subscriptions, except, with physical products.
Exactly, and that's what's so fascinating about this EU project, the Recipe S project. They wanted to see if this whole pay-per-use model could actually work in real life.
Oh, wow. So they actually tested this out, not just like a theory, they put it into
Oh
practice.
yeah, they went all in. They partnered with Garenge, the appliance company, and they rolled out this pilot program in 4 countries: Slovenia, Denmark, the Netherlands, and Sweden.
Okay, so a pretty diverse group of countries, different lifestyles, different laundry habits. This is sounding interesting.
Right. 333 washing machines and dryers deployed in homes, dorms, even laundromats. They wanted to see how this would work in all sorts of settings.
333, that's pretty impressive. So walk me through this. How did it actually work?
Well, first off, these weren't your run-of-the-mill washing machines. They were specifically designed for this project, built to be durable, easily refurbished, the whole 9 yards.
Oh, okay. So they were really trying to think long term with these appliances. Built to last, not just built to sell, right?
Exactly. They were aiming for each machine to have a lifespan of at least 15 years, which is, unheard of for most appliances these days. And here's where it gets really interesting. They even put IoT sensors in these machines. IoT, Internet of Things, right? So we're
Yeah.
talking like smart washing machines that can collect data and stuff.
You got it. These sensors tracked everything: water usage, energy consumption, even potential maintenance issues.
Wow, so these machines were like sending data back to Garenz this whole time. What were they doing with all that information?
Well, for starters, it allowed them to monitor how the machines were performing in real time, making sure everything was running smoothly. But it also gave them this incredible data set on how people actually use their washing machines.
That's interesting. So it's not just about the pay-per-use model. It's also about how they can use technology to design better, more sustainable appliances in the future.
Exactly. They were collecting valuable information that could help them improve the design and efficiency of their products, which ultimately benefits both the company and the environment.
So they had this ambitious plan, these high-tech machines, but how did people actually react to the idea of paying per wash?
It was really interesting to see how people reacted. Some people, they were all about it, thought it was a fantastic idea, but then others, not so much. There were definitely some concerns.
Makes sense, right? It's such a fundamental shift in how we think about owning appliances. Did they find any patterns in who was more open to the idea?
Yeah, absolutely. Like students, for example, they were really into it.
Students. Why would students be particularly drawn to this model?
Well, think about it. They move around a lot, right? Dorms, apartments, always on the go. So buying a washing machine, it's just not practical. And a lot of times they end up in places that may or may not even have laundry facilities. So this was kind of game changer for them.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So it's like having a built-in amenity, essentially, without the hassle of owning and moving a bulky appliance.
Exactly. And it wasn't just students, renters too. Anyone who moved frequently, they saw the appeal.
It's like that whole thing with furniture, right? Some people rent furniture because they know they'll be moving soon. This seems like a similar concept, but for appliances.
Right, exactly. And then another group that really embraced this whole pay-per-use idea was environmentally conscious consumers.
Oh, interesting. So people who are already thinking about their environmental footprint, they saw this as a way to, what, reduce their impact
Exactly. They loved the fact that these machines were designed to last longer, to be repaired instead of just thrown away. And the whole idea of a circular economy, reducing waste and resource consumption, that really resonated with them.
It's like guilt-free laundry in a way.
Yeah, exactly. You're not contributing to that massive e-waste problem. You're part of a more sustainable solution.
Okay, so we've got students, renters, eco-conscious consumers, they're all on board. But you said there were some skeptics. What were the biggest concerns that people had?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest one, probably not surprisingly, was cost. Some people were really worried that in the long run, renting a washing machine would end up being way more expensive than just buying one outright.
I can see that. It's kind of like that classic rent versus buy dilemma, but applied to appliances.
Right. And with washing machines, there's this perception that, okay, if I buy one and it breaks, I can probably fix it myself. Or I can find someone to fix it for a reasonable price.
Whereas with renting, you might have that fear that you're at the mercy of the company, both in terms of repair costs and how long you're locked into the agreement.
Exactly. And then there was this other concern, which I found really interesting, and it had to do with the technology.
You mean the IoT sensors, all that data collection stuff?
Exactly. For some people, that was a big turnoff. They didn't like the idea of their washing machine being connected to the internet, sending data back to the company.
Privacy concern?
Yeah, exactly. Some people just weren't comfortable with that level of like tracking and monitoring. And then others, it was more about just not wanting to rely on the internet for something as simple as washing their clothes.
Yeah, I can see that. What if the internet goes down? Can I not do laundry? That kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. What if the system crashes? What happens then? But it's funny, even the people who weren't so keen on the whole renting thing, they were still really impressed with the actual machines themselves.
What do you mean?
Like the quality of the machines, the performance, the efficiency, it kind of made them rethink what a washing machine could be, even if they weren't quite ready to give up on the idea of owning one.
So even the skeptics were won over by, like, the tangible benefits of these high-tech, durable machines.
Yeah, I think so. It definitely challenged some preconceived notions about what a washing machine should be.
So we've talked about the emotional side, the logistical side, but what about the cold, hard facts? Did this pay-per-use model actually make a difference when it came to the environment and people's wallets? It's one thing to have a cool idea, but did this pay-per-use model actually work? I mean, did it really make a difference when it came to the environmental impact and, the bottom line for both the company and the consumer?
Yeah, so let's start with the environment because that's where this model, it really shines. Remember all that e-waste we talked about, like mountains of old appliances? Well, with this model, they're designing these washing machines to last much longer. So you're automatically reducing the number of machines that end up in landfills.
Okay, that makes sense. Less waste. But did they actually measure how much of a difference this model makes? Like in real terms?
Oh, yeah, they did. They found that with the pay-per-use model, they could reduce CO2 emissions by a whopping 4 tons every single year per machine.
4 tons. That's way more than I would have guessed. What contributes to such a big reduction in emissions?
Well, a few things. First off, you're making fewer machines overall because each one is lasting so much longer. So right there, you're using less energy on manufacturing and transportation. Plus, these machines were designed to be energy efficient. And then on top of that, if something does go wrong, they're designed to be easily repaired.
So it's like a win-win-win. Less waste, less energy used, and fewer resources needed to make new machines.
Exactly. Now, when we look at the economics, it gets a little trickier because for consumers, it seems like a no-brainer, right? No huge upfront cost for a new machine. You just pay a monthly fee, kind of like a subscription, so it's easier to budget for, and you don't have to shell out a ton of money all at once.
It's like that subscribe to everything mentality, but for your appliances.
Right, exactly. Now, for Gorange, it's a bit of a different story. On the one hand, they're making these super durable machines, but that also means they need to invest more upfront to design and manufacture them. And it took a while for them to see a return on that investment.
How long are we talking?
Their analysis showed that it took about 23 months for the pay-per-use model to break even compared to just selling the machines outright.
So almost 2 years before they start seeing a real profit.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Once they hit that break-even point, the profit potential actually becomes way bigger with the pay-per-use model because each machine is designed to last for like 15 years, and they could potentially have multiple users over its lifespan.
Oh, I see. So instead of just one sale, they have the potential for years of recurring revenue from each machine.
Exactly. Plus, don't forget about all that data those IoT sensors are collecting. That's valuable information they can use to further improve their designs, offer new services, maybe even personalize the laundry experience down the line.
It's like they're not just selling a washing machine anymore, they're selling a whole laundry solution.
Exactly. But even with all these potential benefits, there were some, let's say, speed bumps along the way. Like legally, they ran into some issues, especially when it came to moving machines between countries.
What do you mean?
Well, a lot of countries have these outdated regulations that classify used appliances as waste, even if they're designed to be refurbished and reused. So, trying to transport these machines across borders for repairs or upgrades became a bureaucratic nightmare.
So even though these machines were designed with sustainability in mind, they were hitting a wall because of these outdated regulations.
Exactly. And it just goes to show that for this whole circular economy thing to really work, we need to rethink not just how we design and use products, but also the policies and regulations that govern them.
It's a reminder that we can't just focus on technology and innovation, we also need to make sure that the systems around them are evolving as well. This whole deep dive has been really eye-opening, exploring this whole idea of a circular economy through the lens of something as everyday as doing laundry. Any final thoughts before we wrap things up?
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway for me is this. We don't have to be stuck in our old ways of doing things. This pay-per-use model, it's just one example of how we can rethink ownership, design products for longevity, and create a more sustainable future. And maybe, just maybe, it all starts with something as simple as how we wash our clothes.
It's a powerful reminder that even small changes can have a big impact, especially when we start to challenge the status quo and embrace new ways of thinking. So next time you toss that shirt in the wash, think about the journey it took to get there and the potential for a more sustainable future, one load of laundry at a time. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of paper use and the circular economy.